Alrighty, so today we're going to talk about NYCFC in the Moving Forward series episode, and this season kind of went as you expected with NYCFC. We know this is a very young team, and we know that this emerging core that they're built is going to suffer some inconsistency at time, and alas, that's kind of what we saw throughout the season. I mean, there were some good periods for NYCFC, and then there were periods where they revert back to last season where they look relatively poor. But for the most part, I mean, if you're an NYCFC fan, do you consider this a successful season? I mean, I know this team has high standard when it comes to always compete for trophy, but consider a disastrous season that they had last year. I think you could maybe say it's kind of a consider a success, and the future seems like it's been pretty bright for this team in these next couple of years. Now, that being said, they did finish with a 14-8-12 record, finished with 50 points. They scored 54 goals this season while allowing 49 goals, and they have a goal differential of +5. They finished sixth in the Eastern Conference, but ultimately in the playoffs, they once again kind of revert back to them unable to get past the second round. I know that narrative seems like it's pretty much all defeated when NYCFC won MLS Cup, and then of course they followed that by reaching to the Eastern Conference Final and almost made it back to MLS Cup once again. But it seems like at least a little bit of the narrative continues where this team at times still struggle to get past the second round, and this one hurts because they lost to the New York Redbulls. Like if there's one team that if you're an NYCFC fan that you do not want to lose in the playoffs and get eliminated, it's got to be your hated rival because now in that first ever Hudson River Derby, the Red Bulls will definitely has the bragging rights. I mean, I know NYCFC fans will say they're still the only New York team to win an MLS Cup, and I'm pretty sure they're probably giving the Galaxy a gift basket this off season by keeping it that way. But Red Bulls fan will basically counter say, well, we're still the first New York team to able to beat you in the Hudson River Derby, and that's kind of what rivalry is all about. It's been a bit of a back and forth in terms of bragging rights that is shown between these two New York teams. Now, looking at the last five seasons, obviously last season it was an absolute disaster. They finished 11 with a 9-14-11 record and finished with 41 points, and obviously did not make it to the playoffs. And that was really the first time we've seen NYCFC just look very dysfunctional. Remember, that was a season where they were very short when it comes to their roster. They didn't really quite build the roster relatively well, and by the time they were able to finally make the signings, it was a little too late for them to make a run late in the season. But prior to that, they finished third with a 16-7-11 record, finished with 55 points in their defending MLS Cup campaign, but unfortunately they lost to the Union in the Eastern Conference Final, and in some way the Union got revenge over NYCFC of the Eastern Conference Final for the previous year because in 2021 they not only beat the Union in the Eastern Conference Final, but they won MLS Cup versus the Portland Timbers, and they're the only team since 2015 to win MLS Cup on the road. Pretty much all home teams have won since 2015 at home in MLS Cup, but NYCFC is the unique one where they're able to win it on the road and won it in the PK shootout thanks to some Sean Johnson heroics. In 2020, they finished in fifth place with a 12-3-8 record in the COVID short season, finished with 39 points. But yeah, they do not want to remember what happened against Orlando City in the first round. I mean, prior to that kind of playoff series really just kind of sums up NYCFC as a franchise up to that point. Not only unable to get past the first or second round, but finding some of the most dumbest way to get eliminated. And obviously everybody know that was the Rodrigo Schlegel game, but if you're an NYCFC fan, you do not want to remember that because they were on the wrong end of a Rodrigo Schlegel hero in that PK shootout, and going to go down as probably the craziest PK shootout we've ever seen in MLS history. But then before that, they finished first with an 18-10-16 record, finished with 64 points. But once again, this was back when NYCFC still had that choker label in the playoffs, unable to get it done, and this time they lost to Toronto FC in the second round. Now, looking at the top goal scorer for this team, leading the chart is Alonso Martinez with 17 goals. Something tells me he's going to be an absolute star in the making in this league. I mean, I think NYCFC have definitely found their David Villa and Tati Castellanos replacement with Alonso Martinez. He's been absolutely electric. Then you also have Santiago Rodriguez. Can't speak for one. the second with 13 goals. Unsurprisingly, he has contributed heavily on this team. I mean, ever since they got him back, it's no surprise that they missed the present of Santi Rodriguez last season. Then you got Hannes Wolf with 5 goals. Munsa Bakrat actually ends up on the 4 goals chart, and this is a guy that, as I mentioned, for many times he was probably the most snake bitten number 9 in the league, but he finally broke that drought. And even though he definitely still have not lived up to the DP tag that he of course has, at least he contribute and able to snap out of that funk. I mean, it's obviously very tough when you're a number 9 and you're in not only a deep funk, but just it feels like everything you touches, it just doesn't go into the back of the net. And the fact that he finally broke it, it definitely gave him some confidence to score a couple more. And then you got Augustine Ojeda to rounds up the top 5 with 3 goals. Top assist leader, actually, it's Tavon Gray. Again, this is kind of one of the theme that we've seen in the moving forward series, where it's for some team, their top assist leader isn't actually their number 10, but it's actually their outside back, and this is one of the team that has good outside back help. Tavon Gray is definitely one of them with 7 assists. Probably one of the more electric youngster out there. It's such a shame the fact that he doesn't represent the U.S. I think that would be a great option for the U.S. men's national team if he of course represent. But I can respect him decide to represent his other country of origin in Jamaica. But then you got Santiago Rodriguez with 6 assists, Hannes Wolf with 6 assists, Maxi Morales with 5 assists. A little turn back the clock moment, seeing how Maxi Morales has played. I mean, he's definitely not the same Maxi that we saw a couple of years ago, but still a guy that can chug along and create some big moment for this NYCFC team. And then you also have Malachi Jones with 3 assists. He probably could have been higher on the assist chart if he didn't suffer a torn ACL near the end of the season, and another great youngster for this NYCFC team to watch out in the future. Now, looking at the best win of the season, and this might be the first time I say the best win and best loss of the season is exactly the same team, because obviously, for the best win of the season, there were a couple of some good win for NYCFC, but none other than the 5-1 row win that they had against the New York Redbulls. And I say row, I mean, do you say it's a road win? Consider, I know it's at Red Bull Arena, but they play at Red Bull Arena for a couple of their games at home. So again, it's kind of weird that is the case, but hey, they score 5, and what's even more weird is that literally after this game, their very next home game was at Red Bull Arena. It's almost like they own the Red Bull so much that they're basically now the landlord of that stadium. But yeah, that 5-1 win, that was probably the most impressive win that NYCFC has ever had over their rival. And I even mentioned before, how the Red Bulls had the Red Wedding game a couple of years back. I mean, some might say this is kind of the blue divorce game, as some NYCFC fans have said, putting a 5 spot on the Red Bulls and absolutely demolishing them in that game. But then, of course, the worst loss of the season is the Red Bulls got their revenge in the playoffs, winning 2-0 against NYCFC, a game that, yeah, for NYCFC, they weren't prepared in that game. They start off slow. The Red Bulls jumped up to a lead and never really looked back after that. I mean, despite the fact that NYCFC had their moments in that game, yeah, when you find yourself 2-0 down, and as the Red Bulls will kind of find that out later on, almost kind of was a little foreshadow of what to become in MLS Cup. When you find yourself down 2-0 so early in the game, more time or not, you're not going to win the game. I mean, we have seen some incredible 2-0 comeback, but you can't find yourself in that 8 ball and expect you would pull off a miraculous comeback every single time. Now, in terms of average attendance, 21,765, which is good for 14. Now, obviously, that number is a bit inflated because they have the Messi game where that game there was like 50,000 plus that attended that one, so definitely gets the attendance a little bit higher. But there's no doubt that, again, the attendance wise for NYCFC game, it's not great. And it's understandable because when you play it at a baseball stadium, it's tough to try to attract crowd. But as we have already know about this team, and really one of the biggest win for this team this season, if you look at off the field situation, finally getting that stadium started to build up. And that, yeah, in a couple of years, what a historic moment it is, and what just kind of almost not only a watershed moment, but a long overdue moment for NYCFC to finally have a soccer specific stadium and finally have a stadium that they can comfortably call it a home, and don't even have to worry about where they're going to be playing next, as that's been kind of the problem for this team for really ever since they came into the league. Now, look at the MVP of this team. I had a bit of a debate whether I go with Santi Rodriguez or Alonso Martinez, because both of those players easily deserve the MVP. I'm gonna go with Santi, mainly because he not only has the goals to show for it, but also the assist. But Alonso Martinez is dynamic as well. In fact, I probably should have put both of them on, because again, both of those players, I can't really choose who exactly they are the two players that I could say are a considered to be the real MVP of this team. And also, there are also quick shout out in terms of Matt Freeze as well. Usually I don't put goalkeeper in terms of MVP, unless of course in the last episode I did that with Brad Guzan. But yeah, Matt Freeze was absolutely amazing this season as well, and even some of the youngster like Hannes Wolf and Tavon Gray. Well, mostly Tavon Gray and Justin Hack. Those players very good for this NYCFC team. Disappointment. It's got to be Jovan Mijatovic. I mean, a guy that they bought for $8 million this offseason. Not only didn't play a lot in this team, but I think he also got relegated to NYCFC too as well. He's been a huge disappointment for this NYCFC team. He was supposed to be a guy that would fix that number nine issue, but fortunately for them, it didn't come back to haunt them, because they have the likes of Alonso Martinez banging the goal there. But for the money that they spend, obviously City Football Group has always known to get some good players out there, but there are times where they have definitely hit a bit of a dud, and this is definitely a big dud in terms of the transfer that they of course got, and it turns out to be a big disappointment. In fact, there's been a couple of dud too. I mean, the likes of Talis Magno, Thiago Andrade, to name a field that really just completely was a big swing and a miss, and that just kind of shows you that even some of the best scouting network will have some signings where it just doesn't really hit, and those three I mentioned are kind of a great example of it. Young player to watch again. I could have easily gone with Malachi Jones. I could have also gone with Christian McFarland, though I don't think he counts because he's now going to be going to Man City this winter. He is a guy to be watch out for, and could maybe even be eligible for the U.S. in the near future. But yeah, I could have gone with Malachi Jones. I could have gone with Justin Hack as well. There's a lot of great young players. NYCFC has also been a team that is very underrated when it comes to their academy. Their academy also produced some really good talented player. I mean, everybody talk about the Redbulls Academy of being the best in the New York area, but NYCFC has definitely pull up some really good talent of themselves as well. And again, it's not a big surprise, because when you have the New York area, probably one of the richest area in terms of the soccer culture, and in terms of the soccer talent around the country, it is not big surprise that you're seeing that with both of these New York team producing some really talented player from their academy. But I'm gonna go with Tavon Gray. Consider the upside is definitely there. He's right up there in terms of one of the best fullbacks in the league, and a guy that I would not be surprised could be sold off for a huge amount of money in the near future. So what went right for this NYCFC side? Again, the youngster definitely show promise of this team. Again, it's a very young team. There are definitely some progress that this team with the young players that they have performed relatively well, to a point where they could get themselves a move to Europe in the near future. And then, of course, this team is an absolute wagon when it comes to playing at home, and this has been the case for NYCFC. We know that this team is a very strong home team, and I know people will say that, well, they're strong at home mainly because they're playing at baseball stadium. Well, trying to explain that when they're playing at Red Bull Arena and they still were able to win games at home. There's just something about them playing at home that they feel more comfortable. And again, the baseball stadium narrative, that unfortunately will stick with them, because anytime when you play on a baseball stadium in a short field, NYCFC will always have the advantage, because they know how to play in that those type configuration that other teams just simply are not used to. But obviously, the other thing that I think went right, I talked about some off-season signing that kind of was a whiff. There were some off-season signing that was definitely a hit as well. Hannes Wolf is a great example of, he's been absolutely dynamic for this NYCFC side, and again, that's just a credit to the City Football Group, again finding some really good young talented players that come from leagues that you wouldn't expect them to do are kind of an unknown player, but can easily be a hidden gem and do well for this NYCFC team as we've seen down the years. So what went wrong for this team? So as much as they're this team is an absolute wagon when it comes to them at home, yeah, their roll form was absolutely horrendous. And again, this again doesn't help their the to paint the narrative of the fact that because they play so good at home because they're so used to the baseball size stadium, and when they actually play an actual field, yeah, they basically had trouble for that. But besides that, again, the road form just not great whatsoever. Only 4 wins this season, I believe, on the road, one of the fewest on the road this season, and they were not a great road team even last season as well. They haven't been a great road team under Nick Cushing, which again, in previous year they're a team that can actually win on the road as well. And I know winning on the road obviously is not easy in MLS, and there's always that saying, you win your home games and get points on the road, and you'll make it to the playoffs, which is what NYCFC did this year. But if you want to be considered to be the top echelon of the league and a team that wants to have MLS Cup aspiration and get home field advantage to help your case, you have to win those road games. That's what separate you from being the best in the league or to just teams that maybe just good enough to make it to playoffs but not really good enough to compete for MLS Cup. Again, inconsistency has been a huge problem for this team, and it's expected. When you have a lot of young players, there's going to be times where this team is going to be good, and there's going to be times where this team is going to be absolutely horrendous. And in a way, as the season winds down, they started kind of got themselves back into a little bit of a hot streak again. Again, that's one of the concern when you have a team that is inconsistent. You just hope that they can turn it on near the end. I mean, you could be bad for a stretch of time, as all teams will go through, but it's all about when you're about to get to the playoffs. You need to be consistent, and in somewhat, NYCFC was heading into the playoffs, and eventually, got themselves a playoff win as a result. And then, of course, the other thing that went wrong again, losing at home against the Redbulls. That has to hurt just as much as Red Wedding because again, now Redbulls fans are gonna say, well, yeah, you might have won the only MLS Cup in the New York area, but at least we're the only team to say that we actually beat you in the playoffs as well. That one really hurts. I mean, again, if there's one team that NYCFC fans would absolutely have nightmare in terms of getting eliminated, it's got to be the New York Red Bulls. You cannot lose to your inner city rival and expect to still say it's kind of a successful season or a successful playoff campaign. And again, that's kind of what I go back to. Do you consider this to be a successful season? I mean, on the surface, the core that they started to form, it seems like it's successful. But losing to the New York Red Bulls, that I don't think that is going to be something that will give any NYCFC fans to say that it's a successful season, especially a successful playoff run when you lose to your biggest rival in a vital playoff game. So moving forward, as I said, they have a good foundation to be a competitive team. I still think they're probably 1 or 2 years away, and maybe they might add some more pieces to make this team even more competitive. Because again, as I mentioned, with Atlanta, the East is going to get even stronger as the season goes along. There's going to be some really tough competition, and in order for NYCFC to be with the likes of Columbus, Inter Miami, and even Cincinnati of the world, they need to continue to build their squad. But in terms of the core pieces, the pieces are there for them to reach into that upper echelon. Though I do think that maybe they still need a year or two before they get to that point. There could definitely some big sale of young players as soon as this summer. Again, the summer time is when the big European team is going to come calling, and if these young players that this NYCFC team continue to perform, they're going to get sell for a lot of money, and NYCFC is not afraid to pull the trigger in terms of decide to sell these players. They have a history in terms of selling big name players for a huge amount of money. Great example of that is Tati Castellanos when they of course sold him off for a huge amount of money as well. And then lastly, the unknown quality of Pascal Janssen. And, I think that's a little bit harsh to say to him because he's the guy that has coach in Europe, and especially guy teams that have been in big competition like the Europa League which he did with the Hungarian team. But again, anytime when you bring a foreign head coach and a foreign European head coach that has no history in MLS, it's a bit of a risk. It could be a hit. It could also be a dud. More times than not for NYCFC, it's been more of a hit when it comes to that spot. They have done a good job in terms of most of the coaching that they had. Although most of these head coaches they'll probably be gone in about 3 or 4 years, and I would expect that could be the case with Pascal Janssen too. This is not a team that likes to keep head coaches around for very long. They usually like to change it within 2 or 3 seasons, but we'll see whether or not if he can get the squad going, and especially again, this is because this team is not known to stick around with head coach very long. This team has a very high expectation and high pressure kind of situation where if you don't perform, this team is not afraid to pull the trigger and want to move on to to another head coach. And Pascal Janssen, he's gonna have to perform straight away, because if he doesn't perform, NYCFC fans are gonna be upset, and the ownership group will not be surprised to look for another head coach. And then lastly, I think the bonus factor, just 2 more seasons before the historic first ever soccer specific stadium being built at New York City. And once that stadium is built, I not only can't wait to visit it, but I feel so happy for NYCFC fans. This fan base deserve to have a soccer specific stadium of all the crazy travel that they have to endure, and all the butts of jokes about them playing at a ball stadium and being homeless. It's great to see that they finally get themselves a home venue, and I think in 2 years time when they finally open that new building, I mean that stadium is going to be absolutely bouncing, especially the first game of the season, the 2027 season. Well, there you have it. That is pretty much it for me talk about NYCFC. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of this moving forward series, and if you're an NYCFC fan, what do you think is the MVP, disappointment, young player to watch, what went right, what went wrong, and most importantly, moving forward, how is this team going to look heading into next season? But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.